Star Wars Battlefront, a name that manages to evoke a lot of emotions and memories from many Star Wars fans. A name that stands for intensive action across the many combat zones of the Star Wars universe and is also mired in a lot of controversy. Nonetheless, this IP is beloved by new and old fans alike, and today I want to have a look at the very beginnings. Because before Star Wars Battlefront 2, there was Star Wars Battlefront 1. And before Star Wars Battlefront 1, there was, kind of Battlefront 3, and a bunch of handheld spin-offs, and before that, there was Star Wars Battlefront 2 again, and then Star Wars Battlefront 1 again. And by that point we have made it all the way back past the spin-offs and reboots to the year 2004. And suddenly half of this channel's viewership is still liquid. The timeline of Star Wars Battlefront games is a bit odd. Older viewers will say, well, of course, EA's games are just a reboot, but I've met young players who have never heard of the originals. So let's explore the Star Wars-themed Battlefield clone that lives in infamy for being the foundation of one of the absolute best Star Wars IPs of all time. In 2004, 2 years after the release of Battlefield 1942, Pandemic Studios comes out with their own spin-off of the Battlefield formula. They took the basics established by the World War II shooter and replaced the Wehrmacht and Allies, Sherman tanks and Zero fighters with Rebels and Imperials, AT-STs and X-Wings. On various maps, two teams struggle for control points, which also double as spawn locations. To win, you either have to take over all enemy spawn points or deplete their reinforcement counter to 0. A few special maps also have control points which can't be captured but be destroyed, like the shield bunker on Endor.
The shield bunker has been destroyed.
Each team gets symmetrical classes with a few exceptions. The standard trooper class with a blaster and grenades, both anti-infantry and vehicle, or in the clone's case anti-droid grenades, or for the CIS the super battle droid with blaster, tri-shot and wrist rockets instead of thermal detonators. You of course also got a sniper class, with a trusty droid able to call in an orbital strike. A big boom indeed. Furthermore, there's the anti-tank guy, with a really underpowered anti-tank weapon and mines, but the rocket launcher is also pretty effective against infantry. The engineer/pilot, depending on the map, is able to build turrets and repair vehicles standing in front of it or sitting in it. And then each side has their special boy. Like the Imperial Dark Trooper or Clone Army's Jet Trooper, the Rebels' one-man army Big Wookiee, or the slightly overpowered droidica of the CIS. These boys can hold down a corridor on their own, well, at least for a bit until their shield gives out, then they're easy pickings. Add to all that a mix of the known Star Wars ground and air vehicles and you got yourself a very fine game. A question that comes up often: are there Jedi and Sith in this game, like in the sequel? The answer is yes, but you cannot play them. This game is purely focused on the regular soldiers. In Battlefront 1, the Jedi are an unstoppable force, slashing their way through the battlefield. The only way to get rid of them is to catapult them into the void on Bespin or trap them somewhere. Like in this flower bed. I demonstrated that in a shitpost a few years ago.
Kill him.
What a ridiculous spectacle. All observable from first or third person perspective, making this a pretty unique game. Even the vehicles have a modeled interior. Pretty cool. At the core of Battlefront is the multiplayer action. With the PC version available on Steam, the online multiplayer has been resurrected. Launching a game for you and your friends is as easy as setting up a regular bot match. Even if the majority of the opponents are still just bots, it is still a blast to play a match with up to 5 or 6 real people. The encounters you have with them are really the best action you will have in this game.
Is there a zoom in on the sniper rifle? Oh, there is.
Yeah,
middle click.
Yes, there is. It's not just funny bolt action.
I was using it without, you get it.
Yes.
Yes, I noticed.
Gonk.
Get off that fuck.
Gonk.
Oh shit, right?
Fuck! Ah.
Battlefront's single-player component consists of several things, such as instant action, basically the online multiplayer without humans. The famous Galactic Conquest mode from Battlefront 2 is present as well, but in a sort of prototype phase. Here it's just an overview screen instead of the animated space map. Nonetheless, it is round-based combat for different planets, and at its core, still very fun, just not as fancy to look at. The narrative-driven campaigns present in Battlefront 1 are also sort of a blueprint of what the studio would do with the 501st story in Battlefront 2 just a year later. Gameplay-wise, the campaign is nearly identical to instant action. It just has some narration up front and a few movie scenes here and there.
The Royal Naboo Security Force is trying to retake Theed while the bulk of our forces are engaged with the Gungans. You must hold the city at all costs.
A little highlight of these campaigns are the separatist missions, as you are playing the battles of Episode 1, a battle against the pure Gungan army on the plains of Naboo, followed by a fight against the Royal Naboo Guards in Theed, with their own vehicles and everything. Judging by how popular Jar Jar Binks and the Gungans were when the movies came out, yeah, the prequels were really hated back then, I assume an anti-Gungan operation was a personal highlight for many players. Just running them over with an AAT? A guilty pleasure. A further little highlight playable in multiplayer and single player is the map Dune Sea. On this map you are essentially fighting two enemies at once. Well, the regular enemy and local Tusken raiders. And with a little bit of luck, the Tuskens do the Empire's work, occupying all the rebel spawn points and leading to their loss. An interesting fact about Star Wars Battlefront is that it came out before the release of Star Wars Episode 3, so a lot of the planet design was not informed by the movies, but rather by novels and comics. Kashyyyk looks familiar, but different. It is also a little quirky that the clones use Obi-Wan's starfighter en masse. If such things bother you, well, then I have good news for you. Just as with Battlefront 2, there are various patches and mods available by fans, allowing you to integrate all sorts of cool stuff way beyond the scope of this video. Just check ModDB, you'll be happy. The game is from 2004, so you won't fall off your chair awestruck by the amazing visuals. But they remain serviceable and do create a dense atmosphere in conjunction with the audible backdrop. Particularly the music, well, of course, it's John Williams. That's always a blast. Battlefront 1 was simpler, more down to earth. Literally, space combat wasn't a thing yet. It was the start of dense, immersive combat in Star Wars. Battlefront 2 would massively expand on it just a year later, with playable heroes, more planets, and of course content from Episode 3. It managed to become an absolute legendary game, with subsequent releases not really living up to the hype, and of course we are all still crying about Star Wars Battlefront 3. Rest in peace. Battlefront 1 from 2004 is the stone that got the avalanche rolling and is the grandfather of a fantastic franchise. And I think it's worth a visit. We definitely had some fun playing it with the folks from our community Discord server.
Whoa!
Oh.
That was a smooth one. Like a hot knife through butter.
If you enjoyed this little look into a Star Wars game, well then I have good news for you, because there's a whole playlist for you with the occasional looks into Star Wars games we do over here on this channel, usually around the 4th of May. I wonder why. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for future content, and if you absolutely love what we do here, why not support us on Patreon as well, as our supporters there got to see this video well before anyone else. These wonderful people are Lone Wolf, Zed Gladys, Wrapped in Glass, Cookie, AX98, Thito, Reval556, Plasma, Tome, Rainbow Flash, Grizzly Bear, Strange Module, Cop Fighter, Inter, Chalcerit, Sir K, Ramgilama, Whiskey, Christoph, MTD, Hub, Leggy Boy, Daniel, Fralem, Crony XS, Deovio, iMentrix, Almon Ozzy Loco, Rolling Rocks, Sidonai, Bobcat Racer, and Taco the Boss. A heartfelt thank you to them. And to them and everyone else, thanks for watching. So, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day, and as always, may the Force be with you. And goodbye and guten Tag.